David, thanks so much for coming back and doing this again.
My pleasure.
I had a few questions now that the strike is over. Well, I guess that's the first question. The first question is, you've got a tentative contract. Does that mean everything's resolved, or is there more to do? What's the process?
We just had a big town hall with about 300 members all asking questions. You can imagine folks have a lot of questions about what this is all going to mean. We're going to be ratifying the agreement. Right now we have a tentative agreement. That means that our bargaining team got the best possible agreement that they could. They're urging us to vote yes on this. The members are going to look at it. We got over 900 members, and they will vote over the next week, hopefully to ratify the contract.
Okay, fantastic. And what's the timeline on all of this?
I would say starting on Monday or Tuesday, we'll have a week to vote.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on this victory. What did you all win?
So I was saying before, there are two ways to look at this. One way to look at it is, what did we win relative to what other contingent faculty around the country have? Relative to tenured faculty at NYU, you know, we do not have the parity that we were seeking.
Sure.
The reason that this matters is because NYU is unique in having made contingent fully half of their full-time faculty. So we don't look like other contingent faculties at other schools.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
So there's a small number of contingent faculty up at Barnard who are full-time, for example, and also happen to be unionized, but nowhere near in the numbers that we have.
And contingent means what?
Contingent means that we effectively have to reapply for our jobs every 3 to 5 years. We're on contracts. We don't have the same job security and protections that tenured folks have. Now, one of the important things that we won, and I know you were getting to this.
That's right.
Right?
You can read my mind.
Is that we no longer will have to, after 2 reappointments, we will no longer have to reapply for jobs. And that's a really, really wonderful thing for a lot of our members.
Fantastic. Does that affect, I know one of the big issues was wage compression. Does that affect the wage compression issue?
These things are interrelated, but also we have, you know, a separate compensation package that now addresses to some degree the compression issues that we've had. One of the problems that we had for a long time is that we had members who've worked here for, let's say, 30 years who make the same amount of money that folks at the same rank, you know, who've worked for much less amount of time make. And that was really demoralizing to a lot of us. They've done something to address that finally. It took us actually getting to a strike threat in order for them to actually do something to address that. It's probably not as far as we would have liked them to go, but at least they are finally acknowledging that it's a problem and they're doing something about it.
Great. Now, one of the other issues that we spoke about last time and that we were talking about, we're at this great teach-in, by the way, that I guess David helped organize, or was one of the student groups?
This is a student-led teach-in. We're calling them Freedom Schools. They developed out of our strike, and it's a group called Yesao, Chinese leftist group who's doing a lot of wonderful stuff, you know, in the NYU community and beyond.
Okay, fantastic. So one of the issues that you said that you won at the last minute in the contract negotiation that we talked about last time was AI. Can you tell us a bit about how that played into this?
Yeah, you know, the language is there now. Again, this is one of those things that it took us literally having to strike in order for us to get any movement from admin on this issue. And we finally got some basic guardrails. The language is probably not as strong as I would have liked it to be. At least, you know, there's something in there again.
So if you could say just like the top 3 things that you all won in this, what would they be?
I mean, without a doubt, the salary adjustment and the compression adjustment is huge. We also got a $1 million family care fund.
Oh, wow.
So, and this applies to children up to 13, and there are also instances in which it can apply to elderly care. A lot of our members obviously have to deal with both of those things, and so that's huge. And then, you know, the academic freedom is important. We've certainly seen an erosion of academic freedom both at NYU and around the country. So we have a strong article that protects academic freedom now.
That's amazing. And so last thing I wanted to ask you about was, this strike was 2 days. I was out with the nurses earlier. That went on for weeks. Like, strikes don't normally end this quickly. Companies don't normally capitulate this rapidly. How did you do it? What were the tactics you employed? How can folks, you know, replicate what you've done, and what lessons could be taken away from the work that was done by the unions here at NYU?
I think it's important to note that there was a lot of pressure put on admin in the lead up to the strike, so that when we actually got to striking, we were really only working on a small number of issues at that moment. So that's really important, first of all.
Pressure was applied by whom?
Well, the pressure is applied by the larger community, right? We're writing op-eds, we are coming out and rallying publicly, we are getting support from electeds and folks who are also running for office. We're putting NYU on blast in the media, and that's been a big thing. I would say if you were here, you saw that the energy was absolutely electric. Saying earlier at the teach-in that it is the highest compliment in the world that Rebecca Given, who's the head of AUP AFT at Rutgers, said to me, she spoke at the picket line, she said to me that this was stunning. And having seen what Rutgers was able to do with their strike a few years ago, I never thought we would be able to do something like that on the NYU campus. We don't have the same demographics. We are highly siloed and isolated and alienated from one another, but we've brought our community together. And when you do that, and when you have pressure from City Hall, and when you have pressure in the media, then you can get the contract.